The NBA Summer League, a place where many players come together to show off their skills for a chance to make it to the NBA, the NBA GLeague, or just further their career in basketball in general through sheer exposure. But one of the titles every player tries to go after in that short but active Summer League trial run is the Summer League MVP. The award that shows that you outplayed and showed out from the rest of the crowd there, almost guaranteeing you a key spot on the team you're associated with that summer. And with Cam Whitmore winning it a few weeks ago and being the 20th pick in his draft class, it is quite safe to say that he'll have a guaranteed spot with the Houston Rockets and continue to develop into a real NBA player. But what about the ones that came before him? What about the other MVPs for the Summer League? Well, in today's video, we'll go over what happened to the last 5 Summer League MVPs, see how their careers are turning out, and just see what type of impact is received from winning an award that not many people even think about. But before we start, if you want to see more videos like these, be sure to like the video to show your support and subscribe to be notified when new videos come out. But as usual, you already know who it is. Roll it!
3, 2, 1.
Weights in the weight room, so he stitched up in the left.
5 years ago, the Summer League MVP of the 2018 session belonged to Josh Hart. But how did he get to this point with the Los Angeles Lakers? Well, at Villanova, he enjoyed a very successful college career there spanning 4 seasons, where he and the Wildcats won the national championship against the North Carolina Tar Heels, being a consensus All-American and the Big East Player of the Year and DPOY in his senior season. When it comes to a college career, Josh Hart was able to achieve what many people dream of doing, and you can easily see it turn into a long and luxurious NBA career just off his team success in college alone. But come draft time as an incoming 22-year-old, as I explained many times on this channel, being on the older side of a prospect is more of a detriment to scouts nowadays than a plus, since you come to the league with more experience. Plus, considering his lack of upside as a player in the NBA, what he got considered on most draft boards was a very late first-round pick or second-round pick as a perennial role player in the league, which isn't bad, especially considering he got drafted 30th overall to the Utah Jazz and soon traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. But it's the final test to see how worthy of a prospect he'd be and see what he'd be able to do initially in the NBA setting and not at Villanova. Josh Hart went to the Summer League to attend and show out his skills, and that's exactly what he would do for the Lakers. But funny enough, a little twist to this, he didn't even win the MVP in his first time in the Summer League. No. In his first go around, he only played 2 games before being deactivated. But after a rookie season with the Lakers, where he showed how well he played in a role player setting in the NBA, he was sent back to the Summer League the next year, this time as the best and most experienced NBA player on the team. And he absolutely balled out in a more ball-dominant role. He'd go on an average 20 points a game, shooting the 3 ball at a 37% clip, and scored a near Summer League high 37 points on the Cleveland Cavaliers and on incoming rookie Colin Sexton. I couldn't exactly tell you why he went back to play in the Summer League specifically, but he made sure to take the absolute best opportunity of his time down there to be able to show that he could do a whole lot more than he was letting on in his 1 year of NBA experience against other guys who doesn't have the same type of experience as him. But since winning his Summer League MVP, Josh has had an interesting time in the NBA so far, playing with LeBron James in his second season as a Laker, being traded to the Pelicans in the AD trade, then to Portland for CJ McCollum, and finally to New York last season, where he made quite a role for himself on the Knicks. But don't get it twisted, despite his journey in the NBA so far, Josh Hart is one of the best glue guys in the NBA, a very valuable player on everyone's system, one of the best offensive rebounders and rebounders in general at the guard position, and a winner who will do anything necessary for his team to win. But now in New York, being reunited with his Villanova teammates Jalen Brunson and Dante DiVincenzo, it is safe to say that the Knicks' chemistry will only get that much better as they and Josh Hart look to level up, especially as he looks to get paid after the 2024 season ends. For our MVP of the 2019 Summer League, we have the 21st pick of the 2019 draft, Brandon Clarke of the Memphis Grizzlies. His journey in general in the NBA was rather interesting, betting on himself as a top transfer in the NCAA ranks, going from playing at San Diego State to going all the way to one of the top programs in the NCAA in Gonzaga. And at Gonzaga, he was one of the most dominant defensive forces in the entire NCAA, averaging 3.2 blocks a game, which put him first in the entire D1 NCAA in total blocks and helped him lead Gonzaga to be one of the best defensive forces in college basketball. And with him being able to score 16 points a game and being very efficient in the paint as a scorer, he garnered a lot of draft interest as a potential role player. Of course, he came with its own demerits as a player, again, being 23 coming into the NBA, which meant he better produce immediately, and weirdly enough, being only 6'8", which puts him in a very weird position when it comes to NBA stances. But considering how versatile the NBA is now, that isn't that much of a red flag nowadays. And with the OKC Thunder making the call at 21 to Brandon and then trading him to Memphis to become the defensive force of the future alongside lottery pick Jaren Jackson Jr., Brandon Clarke finally has made it to the NBA. But come Summer League time, you could tell by the roster that outside of Grayson Allen, this was Brandon's team to showcase his talents, to secure himself an automatic position on the roster and the rotation. And on their way to the 2019 Summer League Championship game, Brandon Clarke was showing the same athleticism that made him such an alluring prospect in the first place, averaging a near double-double with 14 points on 55% from the field and 9.8 rebounds a game, with 3 of them being offensive. And of course, he had to add 1.8 blocks with that resume, showing his defensive presence was absolutely no fluke in college and that his 6'8" frame was of no concern. He even had 23 points and 14 rebounds in a game against New Orleans Pelicans, winning in overtime, taking them to the Summer League Finals, where he'd win the entire thing and Brandon would be crowned both Summer League MVP and Summer League Finals MVP for his 15-point and 16 rebound game with 3 blocks in the finals against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Since then, the Grizzlies knew what they had, and it was a perfect member to add to their revival of the grit and grind Grizzlies, and Brandon became an automatic rotation player of the Grizzlies to help them make multiple playoff appearances and being a consistent threat off the bench, averaging 10 points, 5 rebounds, and a block a game in 4 years of NBA service. Last year, though, he did suffer an Achilles tear late into the season, but he will be back next season to provide more of that great defensive versatility he gives to the Grizzlies off the bench as one of the best valuable picks of the 2019 draft. And as we all know, that draft is slowly looking worse and worse as the years go by. But Brandon proves himself to be one of the few gems in that class, and it started from his Summer League dominance. Now, this is the person I know a lot of y'all want to hear me talk about. The 2021 NBA Summer League MVP and the 27th pick of the 2021 NBA draft, Cam Thomas. Cam Thomas on his road to the NBA has had a very interesting story, and even to this day, things only become more and more interesting involving him. Cam Thomas is a known bucket getter, and all he does and knows is putting a basketball in the net. And at his size, he's one of the best at doing it. At his lone season at LSU, he was one of the best scorers in the NCAA ranks, scoring 23 points a game, which ranked him 3rd in total points and 4th in the entire nation in points average. Cameron has always been a talented scorer, but he never really excelled or even been average at anything else. And as you can see by his stats, that's a red flag to a lot of scouts and teams interested in taking him. At LSU, though, again, he'd average, get this, 1.4 assists a game, but average more turnovers than assists at 1.7, which shows his aptitude for playmaking and making his teammates better outside of himself or including them in the offense isn't something he does or maybe not even cares for. What you get in that, though, is a top tier scorer in Cam, but if he doesn't score or has a bad game offensively, he's basically unplayable. But the prospect of having a top tier scoring machine off the bench or just in some sort of capacity was too alluring for the Brooklyn Nets, who watched him dropped all the way to 27 and finally picked them up themselves. And that's the main reason I believe he fell so hard in the first place: lack of versatility in his game. But in the 2021 Summer League, this was Cam's time to prove the haters wrong and to show out and try and make the main roster or be a main contributor on that team. Because remember, this was still during the time when KD and Kyrie were still the main players and it was making playoff appearances every year. And they had the guards off the bench who already did more than Cam off the rip. So maybe he could prove everybody wrong at the Summer League. But I can't say that he did entirely, but again, he did what he did best, score. And the entire Summer League became the Cam Thompson showcase, as he'd averaged 27 points a game on 42% shooting from the field and 36% from three. And he even went on a 3-game streak where he scored 22 points, 31 points, and 36 points in his second to last game. And in the Summer League campaign, he did try and play make more. However, it was proven once again that he wasn't the best at doing that, only getting 2 a game and turning over the ball nearly 4 times. But due to his scoring aptitude and numbers, he shared co-MVP honors with someone we'll be talking about next. However, after that scoring clinic, how do things go in the NBA for Cam Thomas in his career? Well, obviously the Nets were already set with their main rotation in his rookie season, barely playing at all in very selective settings due to the way he plays. But the next season is where we see how things would truly change for him, as KD and Kyrie was traded to their own respective teams. And after that point, the rotation was wide open for Cam to take over with a scorer who was needed immediately. And what does Cam do best? Score. Before the All-Star break of that year, Cam Thomas had a 3-game streak where he'd score 44 points, 47 points, and 43 points, showing the NBA what he was meant to do, putting up absurd numbers that only he can do, that is rivaled by only superstars and legends. But even with that scoring outburst, he still struggles to get any real consistent playing time in Brooklyn after that point. And with the newly traded acquisition, Mikal Bridges showing his all-star potential alongside his top-tier defense as soon as he touched down, and other players coming into Brooklyn after the trade in Cam Johnson and Spencer Dinwiddie, Cam Thomas once again got pushed to the end of the bench, racking up DNPs and inconsistent playing time. Cam Thomas can potentially find a better situation in the future, but we as NBA fans know exactly what he is capable of if put in the right situation. Now, will he win games off of it? It's very hard to say, but I'm sure he'll find the right team for him once his contract is done in Brooklyn, as I could surely see him become a new age Jamal Crawford or Lou Williams. So as I said earlier in this video, in the 2021 Summer League, they gave 2 people co-MVPs. So I rather as well talk about both of them. And this person was more the legit Summer MVP, even winning the entire event. The 9th pick of the 2021 NBA draft, Davion Mitchell. Just like Josh Hart in college, Davion came from a winning pedigree playing at Baylor, where he won a national championship against Gonzaga, being one of the main leading forces on both ends of the court, earning all Big 12 honors, even earning the Big 12 DPOY in his last year there as a 6'2" guard. But after averaging 15.5 and 2 steals a game in his senior year, a lot of draft boards had him quite literally everywhere from early lottery to 2nd round. And not to sound like a broken record, but again, age really was a big part of it, and the fact that his upside was rather minimal. So you already knew what you were getting out of Davion, and it wasn't going to be much more than that. A very smart point guard who can play some of the best defense in the league and make smart plays on offense, which you could imagine why people either had him going late or again in the 2nd round. But by the surprise of everyone, the Sacramento Kings took him at 9, despite already having Tyrese Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox already on the roster and being the starting point guard and shooting guard combo. I go into much further detail about why the Kings drafted him that high in my 16-year timeline of their playoff droughts and all the other interesting decisions they made in the draft during that time, so be sure to check that video out after this one. But they took him that high, and again, everybody was waiting to see if he would show something about him that no one else knew of, or if this pick would just be another failure that the Kings were very used to taking in the draft and not developing into anything. But as we go into the Summer League itself, Davion once again showed everybody why he was drafted that high. To be a high IQ defensive genius that could be a lead distributor and leader in general on the court. His stats may not look all that impressive on paper, averaging 12 points and 4 assists in 7 games, but Davion's road to being the MVP came from his leadership and locking up Peyton Pritchard in the championship game, who is himself on a scoring tear. He isn't meant to be a stat sheet pleaser. His impact is felt in many other different ways, but with his Summer League championship won and being hailed as a co-MVP, he now transitions into the NBA, where he can lead a very healthy role in the Kings system as the backup point guard, and even playing very key minutes in their first playoff series in 16 years, playing defense against the Warriors. His career so far doesn't have much to show for it, but anyone who knows Davion knows he'll lead a long career in the NBA for many reasons. His leadership skills, his defense, his basketball IQ, and being a glue guy. And that in its own way is very valuable in the NBA. And finally, last year's Summer League MVP, and the person who gave hope to the city of Sacramento, the 4th pick of the 2022 NBA draft, Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray, coming into the NBA in general, was just a straight up anomaly in the college game. At Iowa, he had the perfect combination of physicality, shooting, and defense, all in a 6'8", 215-pound frame. And he used that frame a lot, bullying other college players, averaging an absurd 23 points on 55% from the field and 39% from 3, with 8 rebounds and a block and a steal a game. And due to that, he was an automatic shoo-in to being a top 10 pick. And the Kings took him at 4 to quite literally be their forward of the future, having a massive hole at the 4th spot and Harrison Barnes getting older and older. And in the same way he was bullying other college players in college, he did the exact same thing in the Summer League. In his first game alone against the Warriors, he scored 26 points on 4 or 5 shooting from 3 and only missed 4 shots that whole day. He did so well that he had Kings fans make an entire viral video off of his Summer League performance.
Town in the bay, we taking over. We taking over.
Sorry,
Yo.
fuck the Dodgers.
We getting 40 wins this year. Let's go.
And after that game, Keegan would just continue to terrorize the Summer League game by game, not having a single game where he scored under 20 points, and overall averaging 21 points and 7 rebounds a game on damn near 50, 40, 90 splits, being one of the top scorers in the Summer League, and of course being the Summer League MVP due to said dominance. But he already proved that he could score in an NBA type of environment in the Summer League, but how would he do as a role player behind seasoned vets and of course the star players in Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox? Well, he fit in nicely as a rookie could, as one of the best rookies in the class off the jump. As we know so far in his career, Keegan Murray is already breaking records in the NBA, now owning the most threes ever made by a rookie in a season, with 206, breaking Davion Mitchell's record by 19 threes. That alone shows that Keegan is easily able to put up numbers on a system and thrive in whatever role you give him, as he averaged 12 points on 41% from 3, shooting 6 of them a game. Keegan Murray obviously has very high ceiling in the NBA if he works on a few things to fit the modern day NBA game and gets more opportunities as a scorer. But as the Kings made it back to the playoffs for the first time in a decade and some change, that opportunity may be hard to come by as they try to do it again and not tank anymore. But people also speculated that him playing 2 games in the Summer League, where he dominated again this year, was him preparing for that exact role. So be sure to keep your eyes out for his development in the coming years. Now, as we've seen, being the Summer League MVP is not an automatic path to greatness. The Summer League itself gets shat on as an event every year outside of seeing the top prospects playing in their first few games and then getting shut down soon after. But the Summer League is meant to show your skills and worth the franchises with a chance of getting a deal, whether it be a real contract, a 2-way deal, a G League deal, whatever it may be. But maybe you learned something about some of the different ways these 5 players won the Summer League MVP and what happens when you win it. Some get something out of it, and unfortunately some don't. But as always, I hope you enjoyed today's video and learned something new, as my vision for this channel is to inform and entertain. And if you want more of what happened to videos, check out my playlist on it or the video on the screen. But anyways, this is your boy Davion Linguini saying peace.